Well, I've had a spurt and I've got these lines on the top deck all completed, wired in, all the electricals for them, and I'm quite enjoying seeing the trains run around in daylight, where I can see them all the way around the loop. There are now 3 full loops running around the top, each with the train on at the minute. And still the 2 running around the bottom as well. And it does feel like a big step, I think, towards where I wanted the layout to be. In that the whole idea when I was kind of planning it was the yard down here, and kind of most of the layer that's got the yard on it being pretty much hidden away and just being a supply line, and then a route around so that eventually, if trains want to get up onto the top layer, they've got that incline to get around, and they'll start the incline on the other side, and they'll join the upper deck along here. And this side will be the station. I had all kinds of complicated plans for stations, but I've really simplified this one in the end, and it's just 2 fast lines down the middle, 2 slower lines on the edge, with platforms on the side of the lower outside lines. So the 91 and the 47 would be going alongside a platform now. I think actually now I've got these things running, I think platforms are absolutely my next priority. I've had quite a bit of work to do since I finished the track, including an entirely new board down here, just because there wasn't really enough space and anything else to look after all of the servos and relays and everything that are kind of up at this end. I think at the end of the last video I put up, I was about here with track lay, and I was kind of coming down in this straight line in this direction. I got a bit of a head of steam up, and I've got a couple of crossovers and things up, and a couple of issues came up, not issues exactly, but kind of things to think about. So I did the ones that I thought it might be helpful to share, I did film, so I'll add those in now. I've got my crossover lined up then. Once I'd cut these little bits, it all sort of falls into place, the little connector bits, and got them the right size. But everything seems to be correctly spaced now. I've checked the gap at the back there to the edge of the baseboard. Oh yeah, and all the spaces are on and seem right. So the last thing to do really is just come and have a look right down that line and make sure that there are no unwanted kinks on the join between the track. Have a look at the crossover, the double slip as well, make sure that's in a straight line. And once I'm happy with it, I think I am, get the pencil out, draw around everything, pull it all out again, prepare it to get fixed down. Big change of plan. I need another crossover here, and even using medium turnouts, it takes up quite a bit of space, and the corner doesn't end until about here, the curve, and I need a set of points in here because it needs to feed onto that platform line, station line that's waiting for it there. But that's just too much going on this end, and I can't really move it back any further because it's about to start getting into the curve to get round to the other end. So I think what I'm going to do, this 24-inch curve is slightly less tight than the set track 4th radius, so I'm going to put the set track 4th radius in on this curve because it was going to go down on the other curve anyway on the inside, and then either move the set of points to there, have it come out and meet them because there's still plenty of space for platform, or if the 4th radius gives me a bit more space, stick it back on there. I'm just not keen on, trains are going to be coming from the outside across there and then straighten up here and then back off to the left again down there, and I'm not sure I fancy that. So it'll mean a shorter platform, but I think I'm fancying putting the points there now. Change of plan in full flow then. I've put the 4th radius set track down for the corner there, moved that set of points to this side of the curve. I don't mind that it's right next to it because it's pretty much the same curve, the same radius going into them, so I don't think it's an issue that the turnout is kind of back to back with the curve. And then another turnout here. This one will go off and meet the station, the anti-clockwise station track, and then another one goes off here, which is just a little terminating bay platform. And I've got a kind of just a train that's a representation of the longest train that'll park there, which is the 3-car class 158 Trans-Pennine Express. So I'm just kind of spacing out how much space I need to leave for the platform, because the platform is either going to have to stop or narrow here, which is kind of eating into the main platform back there, but I don't really mind. I think I'd rather have the track there. I think it's just going to be one track and then just rubble, I think, that kind of thing, where the pile of track is at the minute. Intricacies of block detection then, and I'm really having to try and think about this because all this point work I don't want to have to dig up. If I get an insulating rail joiner in the wrong place, forget to put one in, I'm going to end up digging all this up again as soon as I come to block detection. I really don't want to do that. So something I've thought about here, this line here is a platform line. It forks off just round that corner, and it's purely for the platform, anti-clockwise. This is the anti-clockwise main line here. So this is all one block. I thought it's just a platform. There's not much point in splitting it into two because there's no junction on it. There's no crossover at any point where a train can leave it. So all one big long platform. And then it comes up to here, this set of points, and then joins the main line. There's also a little bay platform just running along there. So I got to this point, this track's still loose, and I'm thinking, right, the detection is on this line, block detection, or will be on this line. So I started thinking, well, what's the point in putting an insulating rail joiner on here? Because there's an insulating rail joiner there, and this is all a platform line. I really don't want a short block there, so I'll just put a conductive metal rail joiner there, and this can all be one block. Problem with that is, if therefore with this all being one block, if there's a train sat in this platform is occupied, but also this set of points is occupied too. So if there's a train sat in this platform and there's a little rattler wanting to come round the corner and go into the bay platform, it's not going to be allowed whenever there's a train in this platform because this set of points is occupied. So I have to put an insulating rail joiner here and concede a short block here, whether I do it with current detection, or maybe with a couple of LDRs at each end because it's so short, I have to put an insulating rail joiner here, or anything that's parked in this platform will occupy this set of points and stop anything coming around and getting onto this one. Bit more block detection forethought, hopefully. I've put this is a single piece of track, and I got quite lucky actually, because it's just a standard piece of flexi track, and it happens to end just about where it's going to have to start curving. I've put an insulating rail joiner on there, which means just that one piece of track is going to be its own block, which is a bit short. But the reason why I've done that is I did some testing on that crossover, and I don't think I'm going to get any platform rub by trains moving onto there, because there'll be a platform down here. But that kind of gives me, and I'd sort of hoped it would, a sort of a platform 2A and platform 2B thing going on, in that the rest of the platform going down there is still well over 2.5 meters, which is the longest train. So I can have say something's come off the clockwise line, it's come and it's parked in this station, and when it's done it can head off over that crossover there and get back on the clockwise line. But that leaves, if I continue the platform down here, and this entire side is sort of dedicated to stations, so I don't mind if it's, you know, the whole thing's taken up with it. It just gives me a little bit of extra platform for like a little 2B or something, and I think that'll pretty much fit even the 3-car class 158 on it. So I kind of get a bonus little platform that can go there, because this line will go around anyway and join up further round. So I kind of get, whereas I sort of had this bay platform planned in the more sort of traditional sense down here, I can kind of sneak one on the end here. I've got the curve coming away from the station laid now. I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm coming to what will be the last crossover, and in fact the last set of points, that one up there going by the direction I'm going in, will be that I've just been round and counted 43rd and final set of points that gets laid on this layout. I did cover this in another video, I think, but the way I'm prepping these is pretty much as Hornby recommend, which is, even though they're inch frog, treating them as electro frog. So you cut a couple of wires here, and that frees up the 2 frog wires, connect a cable to that, so that the 2 frog rails are connected together and can be connected to a relay. Same on the other end, obviously. And then you don't have to connect a dropper wire. I've got one on each end there, because there is one rail. In this example it would be the one that's actually just by the dropper, and the one up there, which could connect to a live rail. There's no need for an insulating rail joiner there, or in fact I haven't got one there, it doesn't matter, because these rails are always the same polarity. The only reason why I've put an insulating rail joiner on probably both ends of one of them, is it that one? Yeah. Is because I want this, I think I mentioned it earlier, I want this for my own use, for block detection. I want the double slip entirely insulated, at least on one rail, so that if the plan to do LDR block detection doesn't go well, I've still got one isolated rail that I can put a current detector on. I've had another push then, and I've finished off this junction, and I've got these curves done, and I'm now connected up to the start again, and I've got my loops. This inside curve here I found particularly difficult, just because with the other curves, okay, I've had a target, I've had, you know, I know I want to get around, and I want the track to hit this particular bit of baseboard, but on this curve I did the inside one first. I had a piece of track waiting, and the track had to be straight as it came off this curve and connect up to that track, and it did take me a few goes to do that, and in the end I did. I don't know if it's cheating slightly, I sort of guessed that this was a 26-inch curve, and it was coming round too early. It was kind of finishing up here somewhere, and I was stretching it out a little bit here, and then it would come round and be too far up there. And then I tried a 30-inch curve, but that was way too broad and it was ending up over there. And so I did a few goes, and in the end what I did, most of this curve starting from here is 30-inch, 24-inch, sorry, up to about here. And then just to make life easier for myself, when I realised I was going to be coming in too early again, I just put the 30-inch track setter down and eased the curve so that it would meet up with the track there. And I don't think it's that noticeable, and I don't think it would be that offensive if it was noticeable, so I'm happy with that. And then once that curve's in, as with all the other corners really, once you've got one curve set and you're happy with it, it's just dead easy to run these spacers, put your next piece of track down and just run it with the spacers around, and they soon sort themselves out. I think in essence it is quite a boring upper deck. It's just an oval. It's pretty much just an oval. But I went to a lot of track plans and that kind of thing, that there are lots of reasons and decisions why it ended up just being this one big oval. And first of all was I wanted a long station, and you know, if you make it into an oval, if you go with the shape of the loft, then that's going to maximize the amount of straight track I have. And straight track tends to be the track you can only do stuff with, put points in, crossovers, junctions, and I wanted straight platforms just because I don't fancy the chance at all, the chances at all of doing a curved one. So that was kind of part of it. So there is this long end here that's as straight as I could make it, with a bit of point work down here to swap lines, and a bit of kind of reflective point work there, which again in the opposite direction facilitates the swapping of lines. And then over here I kind of needed it pretty straight down here, because this is where all the crossovers for the incline are. So they, you know, they don't finish till here, so there's not really that much I could have done between there and there to make the track interesting. So yeah, it is really quite a basic oval, I guess. This end was a little bit different, because coming around here there wasn't one of those crossovers on this end. There's a set of points further down, but that gave me the option at least to bring this curve in much later and straighten it up much later on the end baseboard than I did on the other end. So that has given me at least one reasonably sweeping curve out of the four. All of the others, this inside line is pretty much fourth radius, 26-inch, with a bit of variation, but this one's much wider. So I do at least have one really quite wide sweeping curve to go with. Another quite major factor, I guess, in the design and how I ended up with what I did was I had a rule of, with there being two layers, first of all, no point motors for the upper deck directly above any lower deck baseboard. So I was really limited with where I could put points on the upper deck to where the track wasn't running above the lower deck. And there's an example here, because I dug a big hole in the baseboard there. It's why this track curves here, because I knew I'd need points here. So this track comes down from kind of the lower deck very narrow and early on here, and then sweeps around after these points are done, just so that I could get my, you know, leave a hole and be laid underneath and get my hands directly up to the point motor. There probably would have been room. I found mounts that would probably fit, because there's quite a decent gap. If I come down here, there is a reasonably large gap between there's probably a point motor over there somewhere. Those Merg mounts probably certainly they might have fit if I didn't have any pantographs, but I'd found lower profile ones from, I can't remember the name, it's like an Australia Dingo servo mount. So I'd found some that would mount a servo underneath the board and have clearance for even a train with a pantograph up. But I just didn't fancy the maintenance of it. What happens, you know, even if I get the thing in, if it goes wrong, I'm either going to have to pull lower deck track out or pull upper deck track out, and I didn't fancy it. So again, a part of the reason why, and for example, the reason why there's a crossover here only on the inside 3 lines and there's no set of points here on this entire inside line is because this line runs above the outside line down there. So the points had to finish on the next line in, where I've still got easy access to them. And similarly down here, I did finish the station baseboard narrow, so that the baseboard for the station wasn't running directly above the lower deck tracks that go right down the back there. I've been around and connected all the droppers then. It's still not working properly because I haven't got motors under the points, and they're flappy, so trains can only really go over them in reverse. But something I did, I learnt a lesson from when I did some stuff over the other side a year or two ago. Whenever I'm adding droppers, new connections to the track bus, turn everything on, get everything running before I start to make sure everything was going before I start, and then after each block, after each few droppers, turn everything on again and make sure it's all working properly, because that way if I go wrong, if I create a short, I will know roughly where it is. I've done it before where I did a whole side and got a short, couldn't work out where it was, and it cost me hours and hours and hours to work out where it was. Unexpected side effects of lots of track maintenance. This Class 101 is usually a really good runner, and it was struggling, it was derailing itself over double slips, and for a while I thought it was track problems because it'd just been laid. But then I turned it upside down, and there must be a motor's magnetic or something like that, and stuck inside this bogie were 4 track screws and a huge piece of cut off piano wire from a servo point motor. I've got a feeling it'll run much smoother now. I've switched all automation off, even the yard automation, just because it's suddenly, I think I'd probably gone down the automation line because the layout was essentially just 2 loops and a kind of extra one before, and suddenly now it's a little bit more complex, and even I really can't control it. I keep getting derailments and shorts, especially over those double slips. So I think that the automation side of things kind of goes on the back burner now, because first of all, I'm quite enjoying just driving trains around myself and switching them between the 2 layers and doing all the things that I wanted to do and that I wanted the layout to be able to do right from the start. So I don't have any block detection on the top layer, and I'd have to solder all of the block detectors together anyway. I'm in absolutely no hurry to do that, so for the time being I'm just going to enjoy kind of learning how to use the layout myself and working out how to use double slips. Let's give this a go, and I've got 5 trains running. I'm going to try and get the one that's on the very inside up here, which is the Class 47, there it is. I'm going to try and get that parked in line 4 down there. So it's going to involve a lot of stopping of trains, I guess. So there's 2 trains running down on the 2 lines downstairs, and there's 2 outside of this 47. So I'm still not quite used to where the junctions are really, and where the access is. I think the 47 is going to have to come across the double slip on the near where the station is. So once that's gone, and then it's going to get onto that outside line. So what I'm going to do, if I can find this Class 91, so there it is. If I stop the 91 there, it's kind of out of the way. That's good. And then really the APT only needs to stop anywhere really. Where's the APT? That's down here. Because all the APT has to do is not cross that double slip there. So let's slow it down, and as this, right, okay, so this is where it gets complicated. So up here I'm going to stop this going through the station, so let's get those 3 off. I'm going to take it straight up across there so it gets onto this outside line, and then as it comes around this outside line here, it's going to have to go down here onto the incline. So let's set that up to receive it, and the way I'm working with these things at the minute is it would go through that anyway. It's the other one that would want to change, so it'd be oh goodness me, so I want the frog. I really do struggle with this. It's going to go through there and it's going to go through there, okay, so that frog doesn't want to change, therefore we change that one. There we go. And so if this has worked, oh look, it's come through here, so let's close these off again, and all the other trains can start running, or the APT can at least. Let's start that one up. See if this, oh, I'm getting better. So 47's heading down there. I'm going to slow it down now because there are trains running down at the bottom. So once that's off there, I'm going to straighten these up again. Was it that one I changed? That looks right. So now I can start up the 91 again. Is that on here? Goodness me. There it is. Right, and the 47's heading down the back there, and I've got 2 trains running down here, so I haven't prepared for that yet, so I'm just going to stop the 47 up there for now, which is on this one, and then I'll work out what's where down here. So if I'm going to take that 47 straight into the yard, I need this half clear. So where are the 2 trains along the bottom? We've got, they're actually in the right place, aren't they? So whatever's on the clockwise, that will be the Northern Spirit. Let's just stop it. That's down the back there, that's all right. And we've got a something, I can't even remember, Trans-Pennine Express, there it is. That's come, so as soon as that clears here and goes off down there, which is now, there we go, that can stop. If we stop that there, I can now open the yard up, and I'm better doing that with routes. So let's set up anti-clockwise line 4. Then the 47 come down here, so I need to open this line and this line to get it in, and that should be it. Let's see what it does. 47, there it is. So I'll keep hold of this because this is the one that, if anything's going to go wrong, it's going to be this one. So it should leave the incline here. There we go, and then cross another line there. So far so good. It's got a dodgy front bogie, so it may well derail itself when it comes into the yard, but I'm kind of pleased I've got it this far, to be honest. So it should come up onto this last. Let's slow it down a bit now. Oh, look at that. It's quite stressful, really. I'm feeling a bit rejuvenated then, I guess. I'm quite enjoying seeing the trains run around the upper deck, and begrudgingly I'd probably concede that in the end I did quite enjoy laying the track for this, mainly because I took my time over it a little bit more. I was more careful and more willing. I think one of my many failures is a reluctance to admit error. So the way that manifests itself with laying track is, if I see something that's wrong, I've got a big instinct to kind of leave it and say, oh, I'll be fine. But I really tried not to do that this time. If I saw something that looked a bit wrong, it always ends up causing a problem. So I kind of swallowed my instincts and went back, pulled it all up, did it again. And I think that the net result, although it took longer, is that it's a little bit more rewarding, because actually I think it's probably quite a decent track up on the top deck, and certainly the train's running smoothly on it, and so I think that's worked quite well. It's definitely propelled me kind of more into attention up here than any technology. I'm just hoping the technology runs all right. I'm going to give that a break for a while. So imminent next project is to get some kind of platforms up here. I think that'll add something again to the playing with trains. I'm not one for imagining things, so if it doesn't look like a station, it isn't a station. So I can't, I'm not one for pulling a train into one of these sidings and pretending it's a platform that blatantly isn't there. So I think I've got a plan. I don't know if it'll work. I've had this plan in my head for years, really, for how to get, because it's going to have to be two long platforms, kind of from all the way down there. I think they're going to be these boards here are 1.22 meters, so it's going to be something along the lines of 1.2, 2.4, 3.6, a good 4 meters, I think, at least, these platforms. So I've got an idea in my head of how to relatively inexpensively and in quick volume get some platforms up here that might just look okay, and they might not, but they'll do for the meantime, and kind of give me time. If they don't look quite right when they're in, then they'll give me time to maybe think about something else. But that's definitely next project.